All right, what's up, everybody? It is your two best friends on the internet, me and this guy. Oh, I pointed to the wrong direction. That guy over there.
Were you pointing at me?
No, I am now. I was pointing off my screen.
For all I know, you can. Matchmaking updates.
Yeah.
These have been phenomenal. I love how on the ball Valve is with this, with people's complaints. Finally, they're solving some problems in matchmaking.
I thought you were being a little facetious there for a second, because I know it's been a little terrible for immortal level matchmaking.
Of course, but that's natural. That's going to happen when they're trying to make like positive changes. It's not you're not going to get it right the first time. The very first thing, as you kind of briefly mentioned there, is high MMR partying has been changed to try to fix people abusing smurfing, essentially. That is the first little paragraph here. And I could say that, yeah, this has definitely been a problem. There's a lot of people that have gotten into the top 100 that you see their name and they just have shot up from nowhere and you have no idea who they are. And, you know, that happens. Sometimes people do have some sort of epiphany in Dota, or they, you know, some League of Legends pro comes to Dota and makes it their main game or something like that, some Han pro, and then they shoot up. But with that being said, there's like 50 people in there or something like that where I have no idea who they are. You get in games with them and they're not bad, but they're not top 100.
Right.
And it's very likely due to the abuse that is happening. So now what's going to occur if you party with somebody who's a much lower MMR than you, if you are divine or immortal, everybody's rank is going to be considered as the highest rank in the party. So I guess one question that I have here for Valve is, does this mean metal, or does this mean it's going to adjust everybody's like evaluated MMR for that game to be the highest MMR? Like, is it MMR or is it metal? Because if it's metal, this doesn't really fix it high immortal, because the rank is really the most important thing in the MMR. Like immortal has like a 2000 MMR range. So
yeah, I would imagine it would have to include ranks. Otherwise, it seems like a very short-sighted change for them to make. And
it's probably like rank or MMR.
Right.
I feel like party queue is going to be dead if they don't adjust this in the near future, because
how so?
There aren't going to be enough parties that are going to be willing to queue now, because if you're queuing with like CC&T or something like that, who he's one of the main party people, or like BSJ, like everybody's MMR is going to be brought up to like the highest, and the discrepancy is so huge that it's going to result in these like plus 45 minus 5 games, even if you're queuing with like a pretty relatively, you know, close to the mean MMR party members. It's still going to be somewhat of a problem. So I really think that this is going to, as well as actually some of the other changes in the future here, paragraphs, I think party queue at high immortal is going to be like largely dead. Yeah. Just imagine like a bunch of like 7Ks and then an 8K queuing against a bunch of 7Ks. That's relatively balanced. But the 8K team, the team with the 8K player, they're going to get screwed if they lose.
Yeah, they're going to lose like twice as much MMR or something like that.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm okay with them bringing back solo queue.
Sure.
In high immortal, I think that's if we can get like the high MMR games where you're actually getting paired with people who are, you know, communicating, like semi-pro or pro players. That's pretty cool. Like those are real good games of Dota. So
yeah, and you have the role queue and everything, so it's like it'll actually work better, I feel like, because
true. Yeah.
Now there's not as much barrier to entry. You don't have to it's not like suddenly you're playing basketball instead of playing baseball, where like you need a whole team to play baseball, but you can just like hop into a pickup game with basketball or something like that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Matchup combinations. Next paragraph. 5-player parties can only queue into 5-player parties. Basically.
This should have been from the beginning, in my opinion. Like a 5 stack, it's like a completely different game than.
Yeah, I think this will definitely make duo queue and queuing as 3 much better.
Yeah, 100%.
Number one, it's a lot with the previous paragraph that we were reading. It's a lot easier to find like two people that are relatively close to your MMR and people that you consider high skill, and they play the roles that complement yours or whatever. Like, you don't want to queue with two offlaners or whatever. It's easier to find like two teammates that are close to your MMR than four.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be a lot better to queue as like a duo.
Totally.
In this case, I'm wondering when it's not a 5 stack.
Like if it's 4 or 3 or something like that.
Yeah, if you're queuing with like a 2 stack, I guess it would still put the MMR to the higher rank.
Yeah, that is the interesting thing. So it's like if you are queuing with your friend who's lower MMR or higher MMR than you by a significant amount, it'll probably just pull you up into the game that the higher MMR person would be at, right? Most of the time.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, this will be interesting. I mean, then again, that is only for Divine and Immortal, so it's not that's not going to affect like Ancient, and like if you want to play with your buddies casually, it's still the same game.
Match quality and role symmetry, just some changes as far as making sure that they're like how they evaluate the symmetry is more correct than before. And they're having a bigger emphasis on supports not having the highest MMR on their team, which is definitely a good idea.
Medal rework. More interestingly, we are back to 5 stars per medal now. I definitely agree with this. I don't know how you feel about this, Donnie, but I felt like 7 was unnecessary.
Yeah, I don't know why they added it. It was just kind of random.
It didn't really change anything. I'm sure they had their reasons. But like they mentioned in here, it was just kind of cluttered. It just was noise. And also, they stated in here that they were dropping the MMR required for each medal over the season, which is why people would quit for 3 months, come back, lose a game, and go from Ancient to Divine.
Yeah.
So that is no longer going to happen.
Right.
Which I think makes a lot of sense. We have the recalibration anyway, so why do you need to? I don't think you want to like force people to have this like sense of progression. They should have it as a result from actually progressing.
Yeah, I mean, I do like. One thing I did want to say, and this kind of related, but like, I kind of wish they would add a secondary leaderboard, like an actual leaderboard for 5 stacks. Because I think that would be kind of a cool thing. Like, you could even create almost like a league naturally out of that, where like people
a team matchmaking thing would be really great.
Yeah, people are just like, dude, like check out this #1 team that nobody's ever heard of. They're smashing it on the ladder right now.
That's kind of what Party Queue was,
right.
And I think like if they put some sort of like MMR requirement on it, and you can like you can like create a team in the league, and then. And like teams it could be like a team based with like on MMR. The team should be based on like the team's progress and their ranking.
Yeah.
Because like when it comes to team Dota, it doesn't matter if you have a bunch of look at like for instance Quincy Crew in the NA qualifiers. They have probably the highest MMR average out of any team in the qualifier. Yeah. And yet there are 3 teams that qualified for the major before they did, because when it comes to team Dota, your MMR doesn't really matter. I mean, it's going to be somewhat of an indicator.
Right.
But there's synergy, there's drafting, there's like having a real captain. There's so much else to it. So that and that's real Dota. Real Dota is team Dota.
Right.
It's a 5-person game.
See,
I remember a few videos back I said something along the lines of like, "Oh, that's not real Dota." And anytime I say that, I'm usually referring to real Dota is when it's 5 people that know each other and you have a strategy,
right?
Because I mean that's what the game is. It's a 5-person game. It's not a solo game. Solo queue kind of destroyed people's idea of like how this game should be played for a long time.
Exactly, and that's just why I think it would be so cool to have this. Like, you could even just have it as like system, like a season system where it's like 3 months. Maybe that you have like 4 seasons or something like that, 3 months each, and then you just have like this team ladder that you can register for. Like, you register a team, and then that team is your team, and you can play. Or maybe you could have like a couple subs or something like that. I don't know, but then at the end of the season, that #1 team in each region or something like that gets, I don't know, some sort of prize, maybe an invite to a tournament or something like
I was
that.
gonna say, I think like an invite directly to the major minor qualifier would be really cool.
Yeah,
User idea, Valve. But anyway,
yeah.
moving on. The next thing, high watermark. I'm happy about this change because
This is very good.
I thought this was very bullshit in the first place. Um, so basically, whenever you reached a certain rank, you would keep that rank shown on your profile no matter how much MMR you lost. And now that is not going to be the case. I think they said whenever you are within 1 star of, well, I guess 2 stars because it's a 1 star buffer on both sides. Whenever you are within 2 stars of a rank, that's what it's going to show. So essentially, if you lose a bunch of MMR, you can actually downgrade from like Divine to Ancient.
Yep.
So, and I think that makes a lot of sense because you would go into these like Immortal games or Divine games, you'd have somebody who their rank shows Immortal, but they've lost 1,000 MMR because they're super toxic, and they'd call everybody Divine Plebs, when in reality their MMR would be like the lowest MMR in the game.
Yeah.
You know? And like I mentioned, the second benefit is that this makes account buying less valuable because
way less valuable.
These account buyers aren't going to want to play on their accounts because they're gonna downgrade the thing that they paid for. So this is great.
Yeah, so they can just have a high MMR account, play like 1 game a year or something on it, just to remind themselves that they don't belong there.
Yeah, exactly. The next couple of things are relatively simple. This is mostly just like gathering feedback. So post game match evaluation.
Yeah, just a lot more data that they're giving you up front about the game that you're playing.
Yeah, they said they're going to show the average and max queue times for players to help you determine like was this a normal match that I found, or was this a match that was found because we weren't able to find a good match for you and we just wanted to give you a match. So you're gonna know that. And then also the next thing is post game survey. They're gonna be gathering information from this and try to determine like, okay, if you can look at this post game stats and see that it wasn't an abnormal match, and yet it looks abnormal, you can give Valve some of your input in this post-game survey, which is going to be enabled in a few days from now after they work out some bugs.
Yep.
So just communicating and gathering information, which is really good because like we were talking about at the start, this has been like an ongoing process. And low behavior score. You're an expert in this, Donnie. Communication with low behavior score.
I've been there a couple times.
So the big change here is that players below 3,000 behavior score are no longer able to chat or use voice until their score rises, which is good.
We both agree that that's the case. That should be the case. I still really, really want to see them address the fact that abandoning is way, way, way heavier in weight than reports are. Because, I mean, to be fair, if you're like constantly disconnecting because your internet's bad, you are ruining a lot of people's games, and that's extremely unfortunate.
Maybe it should be like a different thing, though. It's like, just keep track of abandons, and if you hit a certain amount of abandons in a certain period, then you can like ding somebody a bunch of behavior score.
Yeah, or maybe not even have it like affect your behavior score necessarily. Like have it affect something else, like your ability to queue or something. Like if you're constantly leaving games and ruining games that way.
Oh yeah, if you abandon, give somebody like a 24-hour queue ban if you've abandoned twice.
Yeah, I think behavior score should address actual behavior. And like I feel like most abandons are not rage abandons. Like sometimes it happens, but I think a lot of them are probably like connected.
It's kind of bullshit. There's some abandons that are like the game breaking, and you can't get back in.
Right, exactly.
It really sucks.
It's like mostly not behavior score from my experience.
No. There's I think bad behavior is a totally different beast in Dota.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, at least before these changes, which I'm super grateful that Valve is making these changes, it is one of the biggest plagues on the community. I've had so many real life friends that they watch Dota, but they don't play it because it's just too toxic. They just don't want to play anymore. Okay, party spread. So basically, this change is just they've reduced the window in the MMR window in which you can party queue with somebody from 2,800 to 2,000. That's all that I could see. I mean, they gave their explanation for it.
Right.
They just want to have higher quality games. I think this is going to make a change. Core matchmaking code. So I read through this, and this is kind of the jargony part of this. And basically what I've deduced from reading this a couple of times is that because there is a lot of players trying to combine, 5 versus 5 of everybody that's finding matchmaking, like, and creating the perfect games, it's very complicated. They split it into these like little groups now to make it so that they can like do this faster, consider more cases, yada yada, computer science things, search algorithm. They're changing their searching algorithm for matchmaking, and as a result of that, it's probably going to be broken, but they see it becoming more efficient in the future due to this change, which if it's more efficient, then it means that they can search through more people, which will result in better quality matchmaking. That's basically what this is. Reports
and player bans is the next section. This update will remove some methods of reporting that were not rate limited in order to improve signal to noise ratio, especially at the conclusion of a game. What do you think that means exactly?
So basically, methods of reporting. I'm assuming that they just remove like voice report and the other, like everybody would just do all three.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that this just means that it was totally useless having the distinctions of reporting. At least the ones that they had. They might have ones now that are far more likely for people to actually legitimately click, like, oh, this guy's a bot account, this guy's a Smurf, et cetera, et cetera. Because I think people would be more likely to click that. And I think like the noise terminology that they keep using just means that
people are just abusing the system and reporting people for
people are getting
stuff.
reported for like voice communication abuse, and they're not doing that. It's just somebody's mad that this person ruined the game. And like they probably did ruin the game, but not with voice. But I'm going to report you for everything if I can.
Right.
That's just how it is.
Yeah. And then going forward, they say that they're expecting the next day or two to be a little unstable as they iron out the issues with the update, and they just appreciate all the feedback that the community is giving them, and they're very serious about making matchmaking as good as possible in the future. And we'll continue to monitor, measure, make changes, etc. as we go forward. So just be patient.
And at the end, they said, hopefully it'll be an ideal time for brand new players to join in, as well as existing players to invite their friends into the game to help with a better new player ramp. So pieces of this update looking to address new players getting into Dota. And also, it's just interesting to me that Valve is talking about that. Like, finally,
10 years into the game, right?
Finally they've come out and said, okay, we are thinking about bringing new players into the game, because I think that is one of the bigger problems that Dota 2 is facing right now, is that a lot of people are watching that aren't playing anymore, which is great for the esport, not great for the game.
Yeah.
But nobody's playing. No, there's very few new players. We don't have very many like 15, 16-year-old Dota players because they're all playing Fortnite.
Yeah, which is a super bummer because, man, when I was 15 playing Dota 1, those were some of the best days of my life, dude. It was so fun just playing clan TDA matches. If we can bring more players in at that age, that's dope. Like, look at Gunner, he got in pretty recently, killing it. 23 Savage, same stuff. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching this video. Let us know what you think of the matchmaking update down below. What has your experience been? We'd be curious to know whether it's been positive or negative, and whether you like the direction the Valve's taking the game. We'll see you pretty soon.